program.
So thank you, João. Good afternoon. I'd like to personally welcome you all to the final event of BlockStart's Open Call number 1. I think it was 7 months after the beginning of the first edition of this acceleration program, and of course we are now in position to proudly showcase the advancements and pilots of the 5 blockchain startups, or 5 finalists, who went all the way from the ideation until the implementation status. But before diving into the startup speech, I think it's interesting to learn also from 2 great speakers that we'll have this afternoon. So let me provide a quick context about what START is about. So basically, it's a 3-stage intensive mentor program that you already have a sense of, and we aim to at least foster adoption among several industry sectors like retail, fintech, and ICT sectors. Our main goal is, of course, to facilitate the business partnerships, because it's all about the players to understand what they could do between them, and also help the several startups to find the several use cases that could be addressed in the market. So for this, we have about 800,000 euros of equity freeze to support 6 tech startups and 60 SMEs. So as you already know, BlockStart is run by Brightpixel, Civitas, and F6X as the main consortium members. And on this, in a nutshell, on this program, we of course address two main type of companies: the solution providers, that are of course the startups and people that have knowledge about blockchain and DLT technologies, and of course the solution adopters and the SMEs that of course will need to look into this opportunity and to also look into the business and address how they are going to be more competitive by being innovative using this kind of technologies. So to help build this relationship between these 2 types of companies, we mainly address 3 major dimensions. The funding, of course, and we are backing both sides, I think, the solution providers and the solution adopters, and in this way we think we will help both of them and keep the interests aligned between them. The second dimension is of course knowledge, and when we look into market validation and growth support, we set up a 3-stage acceleration program that helps to fine-tune, test, and demo the solutions with real users, and also provide some guidance with mentoring and training and sharing our knowledge and our experience from the VC and technological world with both the parties of the program. And finally, the third dimension is of course network and community, to access the clients and potential investors to showcase the solutions. So regarding the BlockStart program structure, basically some of you may already know, we went through 3 major stages. The first stage, it's the ideation with 20 DLT startups and SMEs, and which evaluation has been made by business and technical experts. For the second stage, the prototype and building of the prototype, during 4 months, we select 10 DLT startups, and several people in the consortia has provided mentorship with several virtual meetings all around. And finally, the pilot stage, where we select the final 5 to present the solutions to 20 SMEs. So here we are today. In a nutshell, 20 DLT startups applications from more than 30 countries. I think it was a great indication of the success. 57 end user SMEs application. In the ideation kickoff event, we had more than 73 participants, 30 pitches and 42 meetings. And of course, in the prototype and pilot stages, we had more than 90 mentoring sessions. So congratulations to Be Smart, Datarella, Infidia, Kidian, and Rex that are our final startups that reached this stage. I wish you all good luck. And finally, I'm pleased to give the floor to our keynote speaker, Max Lautenschläger. I apologize, probably I have the wrong accent on this, but Max is co-founder and COO of Iconic Holding. It's a crypto asset management blockchain-focused VC headquartered in Germany. As you may know, Iconic Lab was one of the world's first decentralized VC group and award-winning blockchain accelerator program in early 2017. So are you looking forward to hear Max, and hope you all enjoy the event during this afternoon. Thank you, guys.
Thanks a lot, Benjamin. And your pronunciation was actually quite good. Can you hear me? Yes.
Yes, Max. So you may now share your presentation. We gave you control.
Yes. Doing that now. 1 second. Can you see my presentation now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, very good. So I hope you can see me. Hello, everyone. Yeah, very pleased to give today's keynote. Give me 1 second. Yeah, maybe very quick about myself. My name is Max. I'm originally from Germany. I did my bachelor's degree here. Afterwards, started as a management consultant, advised Fortune 500 companies on topics like digitization and IT integration. And then on a personal level, became more and more interested into finance, and especially the alternative finance space. And so decided to do my MBA here at the Frankfurt School of Finance. You can see I'm in Frankfurt now, and joined a private equity group here in Frankfurt. But my biggest passion was always for startups. So I decided to join a company builder in Cologne, where we created fintech startups from scratch. One was for the Commerzbank here in Frankfurt, and the other one was an alternative investment portal that we created. And it was about that time that I actually fell in love with blockchain. So I'm not one of the guys who tells you or who claims, yes, I was in Bitcoin like in 2009 or 2011 or 2013. It was actually around 5 years ago that I fell in love with Ethereum, because actually the smart contract angle of Ethereum, just gave me a new whole picture of how the world could look like in the future. I co-founded Iconic Holding 3.5 years ago, together with my co-managing partner, Pat, in Berlin. We moved to Frankfurt, and yeah, today under the Iconic Holding umbrella, we have two companies. One is Iconic Funds, where we issue traditional financial vehicles that have crypto as an underlying. So exchange traded products, for example, where you can invest directly into Bitcoin, Ethereum, or other crypto assets. And the other one is Iconic Lab, where probably the main topic today. With Iconic Lab, we're an early stage blockchain investor. We started off as a ICO accelerator and equity accelerator. And yeah, what we have achieved today, or our traction so far, is we did 11 investments. 10 of them are still alive, so we have 90% of a success rate. We had around 1,500 applications for our programs, and we were voted as one of the top 3 accelerators in Germany alongside TechStars in 2018. But to be transparent, we are not an accelerator program anymore. With this traction, we will get out and raise a venture capital fund next year. This is our next evolution process, and we will focus on iconic funds where we do traditional asset management. And maybe very quick about our investment thesis or our portfolio. For us, the industry doesn't play a role. We were completely industry agnostic. We just believe that blockchain in certain industries will play a huge role. And as you can see from our portfolio, that could be in the energy space, that could be in utilities trading, that could be in the field of data monetization and AI, but also gaming, or for example, other more exotic industries, like for example, impact investing will be completely revolutionized through the use of blockchain technology. Our latest investment is Captain Bitcoin, which is a pure crypto play actually. So we try to find a balance always between pure crypto companies and blockchain real world use cases, I would say. Our 10 companies so far raised more than 30 million euros in follow-up rounds. Personally, or as a company, we invested between 50 and 200,000 euros. And what I'm gonna talk about today, and what I think is very important, is the current state of blockchain adoption. So first of all, I want to give a short overview of how blockchain evolved over time. Then secondly, what kind of traction it already has in the industry and what is actually happening in the space and how the future might look like. And then as a third piece, which I think is for a lot of you very important, who are the most active investors and how does the investment landscape actually look like? So maybe very quick, I mean, probably all of you are familiar with blockchain technology, but still I want to mention that, I mean, at first blockchain was basically Bitcoin. So the idea was that I can send money to someone without the need of an intermediary. This basically gave a lot of people in the world financial inclusion that before had no access to financial services at all. And so it was really designed as a peer-to-peer payment system. Today, and I think that you can see this in the slide, it is more like digital gold because it has a certain value based on the stock to flow model, and it has a very, very low correlation to other asset classes. So it more and more became an asset. And actually for payments, now other cryptocurrencies, like for example, Dash or Monero are getting more and more used. The second evolution of blockchains was, I already told you, I fell in love with Ethereum. For example, Ethereum, Neo, or EOS. So the blockchain that actually allow you to put smart contracts on them, to create decentralized applications, or where you can integrate smart oracles, for example, via the Internet of Things or NFC chips. And that way, we now have much more use cases than finance only, because now you can really build something in the industry space. You can do something with data, with your identity. You can also do everything what is asset related. And it is also the foundation for decentralized finance. Decentralized finance at the moment, in my opinion, is a little bit a buzzword that's getting used too often. But I still want to stress on this because I believe it's really important to realize that 70% of the world's population are at the moment excluded from financial services like banks or insurances, and that through the help of blockchain technology, especially the second generation, we will create a world where everyone can actually participate in our financial system without the need of a bank or insurance. And it's also very important to mention that there are private and public blockchains, both. So very quick about smart contracts. Probably most of you are already educated in the space, but still I want to touch on that. I mean, what's the beauty about it? Why is it like so revolutionary? First of all, it's an automated execution. So you don't, doesn't have to be any human intervention. It's just if A happens, then B should happen as well. the code is law. So no human being can actually change the execution. There's no one in between that can say, no, by the way, this contract shouldn't be executed. The complexity is not there yet. At the moment, it's very simple. So if I do A, then B should happen. It's more or less like when you work in your Excel files. In the future, this will change because I personally believe that through smart contracts, whole notaries will get completely replaced through this technology. Often a native payment is included, like for example in Ethereum, where you have the gas prices. And what I find very important is that now also regulation comes into place in different places in the world. So we saw it already in Asia, in Singapore and Hong Kong, we saw it in Germany, but also the US and even to a certain extent China, that there's regulation about blockchain, which is very important because that way smart contracts can also be legally binding in the future. What we are still facing is the smart oracles dilemma. I will elaborate a little bit on that later. And just to give you an idea how very simple smart contract works, I want to put here one example from the real estate space. Imagine you're a seller who wants to sell his house. You would actually give your asset into the trust, into the smart contract, which acts as a trust. And the trust would also receive from your counterparty money. In this case, Ethereum, for example, Ether. And then as soon as those assets are in the trust, it will get executed and you have automated settlement and clearing. The gas fee then goes to the node provider. And this looks so simple, but actually in this transaction, normally you have like 7 to 8 intermediaries that are completely replaced now. And then you can think even further. You can go, then there will be a digitized land deed. There will be a real estate registry, like for example in Estonia, where everything is on blockchain. No one can ever argue that this is not your house or your ownership. And then you have this undisputed ownership as the buyer, and you're literally getting rid of, I think, 7 or 8 intermediaries. Very quick about the smart oracles or the smart oracles dilemma. Today we have hardware and software oracles which work very well. I mean, for example, if you now put in the supply chain NFC chip into a container, for example, it will measure the temperature and will put it on the blockchain. That's already there. There's no fraud included normally, and you can rely on that. Also, you have software oracles, like for example through APIs, where also the data is again immutable. But we always had a problem with with qualitative data that goes on chain, which is not provided through a hardware or software oracle. And this is, for example, why Chainlink skyrocketed over the last 1 or 2 years, because they try to be a consensus oracle that before data gets on the blockchain, it is already verified. And at the moment, I'm slowly coming to the blockchain adoption. You can see that we have like 3,800 dApps out there. We have around about 80,000 unique users, and the volume is increasing every day. So at the moment, we have close to $100 million in volume that's getting executed in decentralized applications. Blockchain in general is growing. A lot of manufacturers and financial service companies view it as one of the top 5 critical priorities nowadays. I think that's very, very interesting to know. And blockchain as a service, for example, is estimated to grow by 70% within the next years. So I think we are here in an environment where we have an extremely high growth rate and where the need for corporate players is very high to actually think about it, or at least consider it for some solutions. Sorry. And then what are the real world applications today? Because this is something I'm getting asked very, very frequently. Who's actually using blockchain? And you can see in the financial services sector, for example, you can take the biggest exchanges in the world, like the New York Stock Exchange. You can take Barclays as a huge investment bank. You can take fidelity. Everyone is looking into blockchain and everyone is building prototypes in the blockchain field. So I think the financial services industry is one of the first that is getting disrupted. But also if you look at the supply chain, you can see that, for example, Coca-Cola just integrated a blockchain solution into their bottling services. In the healthcare space, I mean, your health data could be stored on blockchain and monetized peer-to-peer, or you could use this for disease control, which is very interesting at the moment with the corona pandemic. Identity, I mean, you can have a unique global identity just based on blockchain. And then governments, of course, could use it for public records. And in the retail space, you could create an Amazon, you could create any kind of online platform that actually works peer-to-peer through the use of blockchain technology. And not even that, if I only look at the crypto space, so Ethereum, Ripple, Stellar, IOTA, and EOS, you can see that huge corporates are already using it. You have Google, you have Amazon, you have SAP, Microsoft, IBM, you have Barclays, you have Siemens, you have Porsche. So from the manufacturing space, as well as from the financial industries and the software industry, you have huge players that are already building on blockchain. For me personally, I might be a little bit biased coming from the financial industry, but I think the biggest use case is the tokenization of assets. Tokenization is nothing more than a modern way of securitization. It is a digital representation of an asset, nothing more. The beauty about it is, or the interesting thing is, everything can get tokenized. You can tokenize any financial instrument, equities, debts. You can tokenize real estate. I could today say that I own maybe 1 square meter here of this wall. You can tokenize collectible arts, commodities, investment vehicles, so basically everything. And this is really the future. And it's not just us crypto and blockchain people sitting here and trying to forecast the future or trying to create some FOMO. It is also, if you look like Robert Kreifeld, for example, the former chairman and CEO of NASDAQ, he already said 2 years ago, 100% of the stocks and bonds that are trading on the Wall Street could be tokenized today, and in 5 years they will be tokenized. So even the big players, they realize that blockchain technology will disrupt that space. And if all of that is getting tokenized, we're talking about $508 trillion worth of assets that could get tokenized. And why do we do that? It is because what we don't realize in the Western world is that the cost of trust is so extremely high. If I wire money to you, there are so many intermediaries, or if I sell real estate to you, and we have intermediaries like settlement agent, we have the clearinghouse, we have exchanges in between, and we have a broker, we have custodians, and we have auditors. And that are just a few examples of intermediaries that we could actually now replace through blockchain. And this creates the vision that I think we are all sharing here, a global, fractionalized, and fungible market. I mean, CBDCs, all central banks at the moment are looking into digital currencies. They will put their currencies onto blockchain. If also arts and other illiquid assets are tokenized, and also derivatives and other financial instruments, we have a global market that's completely fungible. We never have to leave this ecosystem ever again. I can trade 1% of a Picasso painting against maybe 10% of real estate. I can trade my house maybe against 50 stocks of Tesla. I can trade everything with everything. And because it's so fractionalized up to the 18th decimal, I can really trade everything against everything. And now the big question I think today is, especially for the startups, how can you benefit from that? I mean, we now realize that there's a lot of things going on, and we have huge potential in different industries. Big players are looking into it, but who potentially gives you the funding? And if we just look at the deals and the funding size, you can see that in 2019 it decreased a little bit. Blockchain startups are not getting as much funding anymore, but the good news is the amount of deals are very, very steady. So still compared to like 2015, 2016, your chances of getting funding from a VC as a blockchain startup are actually quite high. And if you look at who is actually financing blockchain startups, you can still see that your best bet is still venture capital. I mean, corporate VCs, yes, they might invest into you from a strategic point of view. Maybe you have some angel investors, what I would also always recommend in the beginning that will help you out. Hedge funds are only looking into already big solutions, into unicorns in the crypto space. But really, my best bet would be to go to venture capitalists. And to give an idea who the most active players are in venture capital, it's Neo Global Capital, Coinbase, Galaxy Digital, Fenbushi, and the Digital Currency Group. So you can see it's mostly from China and from the US who are investing. So I think your geographic flexibility must be also high in this space, especially in later rounds when you need more funding. Then I think those players are very, very important. And the question is it now shifting more from the US to China? Because China really picked up here. Now already 18% of the funding comes from China, and before it was at roughly 10%. But for us, I mean, here we are saying we are shaping Europe's blockchain future. So what are we doing in Europe? Who can you reach out to here? And I think this is what I want to really suggest you, because these are players I've worked with that are players that have funded our blockchain startups, and where I could potentially also give advice on how to apply for them. FinLab here from Frankfurt, Germany does a lot of things, especially in the EOS space. You have the High-Tech Gründerfonds, which is the biggest continental European VC group that heavily invests into blockchain startups. You have the Cryptology Asset Group based out of Malta from Christian Angermeier and Mike Novogratz. You have Coparian, you have Target Global, which are based out of St. Petersburg and Tel Aviv, and you have Speed Invest from Austria. So I think here in Europe, your chances are also very, very high to get funding if you have a great idea. And yeah, and now I would actually open the floor for potential questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Max. So I'll challenge everyone to place their questions through the chat. So please feel free to ask and to take this opportunity to engage with Max. So we have the first question from Agata. So the question is about if Iconic Holding is looking for new investments, if he's actively seeking for new investments.
We are seeking. Yes, we are looking for a strategic partner probably next year. Yes, so we are open for investments definitely.
Okay, so also second question now from Jeroen. What do you believe would be the key success factors for blockchain startup? What you definitely recommend that blockchain startup should cover, should take in mind?
What I see at the moment, especially here in Europe, I know a lot of startups that have great solutions. That really the solution is great. They have everything built. They got the funding, but at the moment they have close to no traction because no one is really building with them. And what I often see in the blockchain space is that you have a letter of intent. Yeah, I mean, IOTA, for example, is the master of letter of intents. They have like concepts with all sorts of company, but actually not really something that is providing revenues. And startups here, I think, are facing the same issue, that you don't have customers that are actually willing to pay for the solution, because at the moment, blockchain solutions are often more expensive than traditional solutions. But I think, I mean, Ethereum 2, for example, is getting deployed this year, and this will decrease transaction costs and increase the transaction speed tremendously. So I personally believe that, yeah, build a solution that makes sense, that really offers a clear benefit for a corporate or for clients out there.
Okay, indeed. So also one question linking to the one regarding the investment that you are seeking. Are you also open for co-investment?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So now a question related to what is needed for mass adoption. What do you recommend?
Yeah, I partially already answered this. So I believe that like incremental enhancements in the technology will help a lot. So I'm really looking forward to Ethereum 2. And it just takes time, because if, for example, if you look at the financial industry, I mean, first, all the banks and the exchanges have to agree on a common infrastructure, for example, Ethereum, before they can actually facilitate all their trades and investments through the infrastructure. So I think what we need is a little bit of patience that big corporates and or even governments agree on a common standard, which I hope will be Ethereum and not Hyperledger. And then it's all about, I think, scalability. So about the transaction costs and the transaction speed. And I think this is just a matter of, yeah, not even years. I think, I mean, I just saw the other day that, I don't know, I think like 18 billion were wired in Bitcoin, and the transaction costs were, I don't know, $1. So I think it already makes sense, but I believe that this technological improvements will definitely help mass adoption.
Okay, and about the country of incorporation, how do you see it influencing the fundraising in Europe? Is it critical or not?
For us, it never played a role personally. So we as an investor never said you should be incorporated here or there. I mean, at the moment, UK is a little bit challenging just because you don't have a very clear picture and how they will get integrated into the European financial market and into our trading union. But besides that, the only advice I can give is if you're in the financial field, so in the crypto field, I think in terms of regulation, I would go to Germany, just because here you have a crypto custody license. You have a very clear framework for crypto asset, and I think that's very beneficial. If you want to work on blockchain solutions in the legal space, for example, if something with the notary or real estate transactions or tokenized real estate, for example, then I would choose another jurisdiction, because, for example, in Germany, the law is just too slow and not yet adapted to the new technologies. And there I would go, I don't know, to the US or maybe to smaller countries like Liechtenstein or Switzerland, where you can at least do a lot of things in the beginning.
Okay, so some more questions, plenty of interest, in fact, in this great keynote. So about the difficulty to explain blockchain to the masses. So do you have any recommendation on how this can be done? So when there is a need of demonstrating the value of blockchain in a given project.
What I'm doing personally, because I'm facing this issue very often, and the question for me is always, how deep do I go into the technology? And I think it's not wise to explain people how proof of work works and how it compares to proof of stake or proof of velocity or whatsoever. What I always do, even though it's not 100% correct, but I think that people understand it, is here, look, in front of you, you have your Excel sheet. And if I now crack your computer and I go into your Excel sheet and I just put other data in and save it down, you will think the next day that this data is correct. And banks are the same. They have like their Excel sheet there where they also do the transaction between the banks. And then if someone there decides to change the numbers, they can just decide it. And now imagine if this Excel sheet would be on every computer on the world, and everywhere simultaneously someone would have to hack it and put the same values in. Only then we could manipulate the system. It's not 100% correct, but it's 90% correct. And I think this way, because most people are using Excel, so I think they understand it and say, okay, that really makes sense.
Okay, thank you. And which source do you typically use to assess the growth of for blockchain applications?
Mm-hmm. So the things I showed you about decentralized applications and smart contracts that are installed on the public blockchains, you can go on stateofthedapps.com. You can see it every day, what's happening in the space. When it's about blockchain growth, it's a little bit more complicated, because the best research report, in my opinion, is unfortunately from 2017. It's the Gartner report. And since then, you have some good things from Deloitte, some good things from EY. So I would always check the big four. My best sources are always for funding, CB Insights, the funding report. Then you have normally the crypto hedge funds report from PwC. And you have from Accenture, I think every year, the tokenization report. And then when it's about finance and crypto, actually, I love our reports that we are doing.
Okay. And a bit about the future of money and your thoughts on if it should either be based on CBDC or a more non-governmental digital currency project. And
I mean, I'm a realistic guy. So I think money, or to a certain extent, money will be always controlled by governments. And to a certain extent, they also need this flexibility for economic reasons or macroeconomic reasons. I believe that all central banks will put their national currencies on blockchain and issue a CBDC. And I think that like Bitcoin, Dash, Litecoin, whatever you use for payment will be a parallel system. But I don't think that like Bitcoin becomes the national currency of Portugal or Ireland or something. This is what I don't believe in. I think it will be two separate worlds. The one where you know it's not controlled by the government, where everyone can be part of the financial system, and the other one where governments still have the control and where not everyone is able to participate in the or not everyone is financially included.
Okay, and so a specific example on, for instance, decentralized finance-based prototype, which could effectively displace incumbent insurers from the marketplace. In this circumstance, do you have any ideas on how it will be possible to engage these insurers in testing, taking that they would not participate in this afterward?
Sorry, I think I didn't understand the question. Sorry.
So the question is, in a case where a prototype would displace insurers from the marketplace, if you have any ideas on how to engage in testing with other entities.
I think at the moment, I mean, in our world where we live, I think it's not necessary to replace or displace actually the insurer, because they played a role in our ecosystem, and I think it's okay, at least the way it works. But I believe the insurers themselves will use blockchain technology for just better proof of trust and single source of truth. So for example, Domcura, it's a big insurer here in Germany. They, for example, use blockchain for their travel insurance, so that every flight that is getting delayed, those records get on blockchain, and that way automatically, if you have a delay, it's it's proven on blockchain, and you directly get your money back if you have the respective insurance on them. So I think here the big players will use blockchain, but in the world, let's go, for example, I'm invested into a startup in Nigeria, for example, and in Nigeria, it's close to impossible to get an insurance. If you get an insurance, it's maybe 18% premium or something like that. And I think there, if you can build it community-based, that you insure other people peer-to-peer based on the records that are stored on blockchain and you have access to, I think that's a huge use case. But I'm not aware of any peer-to-peer insurance, to answer this question, that at the moment works here in our Western world.
Okay, and so regarding trust, are you aware of some calculations on the cost of blockchain hacking, especially in case this technology is widely adopted? Which would be the impact cost-wise of hacking?
I view hacking as a very, very minor risk for blockchain technology. I mean, quantum computing will come, or it's already there, and it will be a huge topic. And there are two security elements of the blockchain that are actually impacted by that. The one is, for example, the hash, but all the blockchain protocols are aware of that and already changed their hashing functions in a way that this is not anymore a risk. So again, what actually the risk is, all the hacks we are seeing in the blockchain crypto space are not hacks of the blockchain. They're all hacks of intermediaries, like, for example, exchanges, or lately we have seen a MetaMask hack. So I think that's more the issue. And the problem in the crypto world is that once you get hacked, if you lose your private key or someone gets it, your assets are away. It's not like I cannot call a bank and ask my funds back. They are just away. That's the problem. And that's why I think it should be, ideally there should be zero risk of getting hacked. But part of it is in your own responsibility, of course.
Mm-hmm. And what would be your main argument against Hyperledger?
I would say I'm not against Hyperledger, but all the benefits, everything that what we are talking about at the moment, the vision we have of the future, is based on a public ledger that makes transactions available to everyone, and where the mining nodes, or in general the nodes, also the validators, are based around the globe, that we have a global network that prevents fraud and that is immutable. As soon as I do a Hyperledger, I can just say, okay, you are the one node, you are the other node, you are a node, now the four of us are nodes, and then we can, so companies which tend to use the Hyperledger, not in 100% of the cases, but normally want to have more control and impact on the network and want to save transaction costs because it's much faster and cheaper, of course. But I think all the beautiful things that we get through blockchain technology are based on public ledgers, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so great talk indeed, Max. There was an overwhelming interest from the audience. Unfortunately, we are running out of time, but if you may have some final thoughts, some final advice for startups that are currently in that stage of they developed the MVP, they managed to have some pilots, but now are eager to scale those pilots and have more adopters on board. What would be our advice to this kind of?
First of all, I would share my email very quick so that you can reach out for any questions. Give me 1 second. And then in general, I mean, get KPIs. I think it's most important to get KPIs. Go out, ask what the people really want in the blockchain space. whether it makes sense and whether the technology behind is already scalable enough for your use case. And then generate the KPIs that are needed for next funding round. And if you have traction, if you have paying customers, and that in the blockchain field where most of the companies just don't have revenues, and then I think you will do great and everyone will be happy to invest into you.
Mm-hmm.
And for any questions, I just dropped my email address. I hope it's correct. Yes, it is. Into the chat. If you have any questions or want to send over a pitch, just send it to me. Unfortunately, I cannot listen into the pitches because I'm giving another presentation here in Frankfurt. And yes, just reach out to me, and happy to have conversations and to see your decks or whatsoever.
Thank you very much, Max. And we'll make sure to share with you the video recording and also all the pitch deck of the startups. So we'll be happy to have you provide you the information. So greatly appreciate your positive answer to our challenge, and we hope to see you around. And so thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks a lot, and thanks for inviting me. Thanks for listening. Thanks for the great questions, and see you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Okay, so now we'll start with the actual pitch. So let me only share and announce the next startups presenting. So next up will be To Be Smart. The first one presenting its safe building app solution, and right after, it's 10-minute pitch, 5 minutes for Q&A. So please feel free to share your questions in the general chat. And so afterward, we'll have Datarella. Datarella will present their supply chain blockchain solution, currently applied to humanitarian circumstances, but with a broader scope than that. So without unveiling too much of these great projects, I'd like to ask Jeroen to share his presentation. So I'll stop sharing mine and invite Jeroen to the stage.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
Perfectly. And you can actually see this office building, this slide as well?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Then we can start. Okay, very good afternoon to all of you. My name is Jeroen Perquin, and I'm one of the founders of To Be Smart. And I first of all would like to thank you very much for the opportunity to present to you today our Smarties project. And by the way, also thank you very much to Max, who just left, I can see. But anyway, thanks to Max for the great kickoff of this afternoon. But also special thanks to the organizer of BlockStart's. Now today, I will present to you the pilot that we have developed together with two SME adopters. One of them is DWA, that's a specialist advisor in facility management, and BR Controls, that's a specialist in IoT sensors. And the main question that we wanted to answer with our project was, how can we use the newest technologies to demonstrate that an office building is healthy to work in? Yeah, and this question, of course, is more actual than ever given the current corona pandemic, but we believe it will also remain actual after corona. But first, I would like to spend a few words on our company To Be Smart and what we do. Now, we're a small startup IT company from the Netherlands, and we have developed a platform called Smarties, with which we simulate business processes using IoT sensors, blockchain technology, and in particular, smart contracts. And we offer these smart contract simulation to students in higher education to teach them how they can use smart contracts in a business context. And we also use the simulation for training and awareness workshops in businesses. And And the question was earlier asked during the presentation of Max, how can you, so let's say, convince businesses and explain how blockchain works? And we believe that simulation, showing real life examples, is one of the ways of doing that. But we also build real applications based on the same underlying Smarties design, the Smarties platform. And that actually is the topic for today, building real innovative applications with adapters with customers. So the business problem that we are addressing with our concept is the following. Now, many offices are closed or have a very low occupation rate due to COVID-19. And this is costing the real estate market many hundreds of millions a year. And for facility managers and real estate companies, the challenge is currently, what more can they do so people are safe and feel safe working in offices? Not only during Corona, but also after Corona. So what we have developed with our partners is the concept of the Healthy Indoor Environment app. And this is an application that will tell people in a room if the indoor air quality is healthy or not healthy. It will tell you how significant the risk is that you may get contaminated if you stay in a room with a certain amount of people. In real time, fully automated, 100% secure, independent, and based on fully reliable and verifiable data. By the way, my screen is not completely fine. Is your screen okay, Joa?
I'm seeing the solution slide.
Okay, perfect, perfect. Okay, so a fully reliable and verifiable data. It can be accessible on your phone, or it can be accessed on the screen in the room, which I will show in a second. Now, our system is fully mobile. It can be installed in any office room or even other types of rooms, like, for instance, classrooms. Now, before I demonstrate to you the application in real life, let me briefly explain how it works, how we have designed it in this pilot. Now, first of all, we work with two IoT sensors. One measures CO2 and the other measures the number of people in the room. Now, in case there's no people sensor available, so a sensor to count the number of people, you can also manually enter the number of people in a room. Now, this data is sent to the air quality risk assessment module, which calculates the risk level. But to ensure the integrity of the sensor data, we have developed the SSDI protocol. And that stands for Smarties Sensor Data Integrity. And applying this protocol ensures to the users that the data that they will be looking at from the application is for sure coming from the sensors in the room, and the data cannot be manipulated or can be tampered with. Now then the risk assessment modules that calculates a risk level based on a well-recognized scientific model. And the risk level, as well the underlying sensor data, is decentrally stored and notarized on the blockchain using smart contracts. And then finally, the risk level and the data is made accessible via an application that we have built. Now, we've built a pilot in the head office of DWA in Gouda in the Netherlands using 2 meeting rooms. Now, in one room, we've installed a people sensor, which is, if you look very carefully, you can see on the door there on the left. And we had one room as a test environment without a people sensor. Now, the CO2 sensors were already installed at the ceiling of the rooms in these offices. It's quite a modern building. But if these sensors would not be available, then a mobile CO2 sensor of good quality also works. Now here on the left, you see a picture of one of the rooms. And you see, by the way, also the office environment where we tested it. And at the entrance of the room, the people can access the app by scanning the QR code. And at the end of the demo, I will also give you the QR code. I will show it on the screen so you can actually try and test the application yourself after this presentation or after the workshop today. Okay, I'll now go to the demo. Give me a sec. Okay, so here you see the screen with the two rooms, the two test rooms, and the color already indicates, let's say, the safety level in the room. In this case, green, so the levels of the air quality in this case is good in the room. Now I'm going to click on this room, room 406, and that is the room that has the people sensor. So the number of people here is automatically counted. Now here on the left, you see the traffic light system. So in this case, in this example, the rooms level are okay. It's safe to stay in this room. Actually, there are no people in the room. That's real life data. So then, of course, it's always green. But if you look in the table here at the bottom, you see that on the 15th of October, yeah, there were first 3 and later 2 people in the room. And then the system will calculate the risk percentage and will show that to the users in the room. And you can also see that the risk is actually increasing the longer the people are in the room, because time does play a very important factor in the risk assessment. Now, if the risk gets above 5%, then the traffic light turns orange, and if the risk gets above 20%, then the traffic light turns red. That basically means the risk is not acceptable anymore, and it basically means that the room needs to be vacated. You need to leave the room if you're in the room, and it needs to be refreshed, or it needs to be solved before the room can be used again. So there's also here on the top a few charts where users can access the historical data. Actually, there's no recent data here because there were no people in the room, but it will show the number of people in the room, and it will show the change in the risk level in the last 2 hours or in the last 7 days. Now this is the very simple user view. This is, we think, is all that the user would need. But there's another view I would quickly like to show you, and that's the view of the facility manager, let's say the manager of the building. Now that person may have a need for a little bit more data. Of course, it's the same data that they're looking at, but the facility manager can actually see the actual CO2 levels. So these are at the moment the real CO2 levels. You see actually 1605 at the 29th of October. So we're now really looking into that room. This is the CO2 level, and this is the ventilation in the room. And here you can actually see that this data is locked on the blockchain. So the facility manager can, here it is on Ethereum for the specialists under us. Now, of course, the facility manager cannot change the data. That's, of course, the trick of blockchain. Now, there's one final important thing that we have developed, but that is not so catchy now. There's no time to demonstrate it, but I would like to mention it. And that's sort of a maintenance module. And with this module, we can easily add new sensors, new rooms, etc., to the pilot environment. And that makes the pilot environment very easily scalable. And we can even, with that functionality, start scaling it to a real production levels. Okay, and now would like to go back to the presentation.
Jeroen, I would like to ask you like 1 minute to finalize the presentation, okay, please.
Okay, I would just like to mention a few more things, if you allow me, Joao. So we went live on October the 1st with the pilot, and October 15 we launched the pilot. We did a large demo day for specialists in the facility management market. And for those who would like to have some more information, there will be a 4-minute video, which we ourselves like quite a lot, which you can show if you would like to, which you can look at if you would like to have more information about the demo. In terms of market opportunity, we've done some market research, and we, in summary, the conclusion is that we believe we see a market of about 11 million annual subscription fees and installation fees of up to 275 million. We think there's a big market for an application like this. Now, the pilot was done by the combined team of To Be Smart, DWA, and BR Controls. And with this combination of people, we have all the required IT, blockchain, business, and market knowledge to further develop this pilot into a viable commercial application. Now, quickly on the next steps. We're now in the communication phase and we're testing the market at the moment. And we're about to sign a cooperation agreement with DWA, where we agree on the next phase. And in this phase, we will be looking for new locations and funding because we would like to do a new, larger pilot with this application as a next step towards scaling this concept into a commercial proposition. Now with this, I would like to thank you very much for your attention. And if I managed to get you interested into this concept, please feel free to contact me. We are looking for new partners and potential customers to pilot our product, and our partners who would be interested to invest in this idea. And if you want to see the pilot on your own phone, what you can do is you can scan the QR code here on the right in the middle, and it will bring you straight into the application, and you can see real life into the 2 test rooms that we have developed. With that, thank you very much for your attention, and I give back to Joao to the floor for any questions you may have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Johan. So I would like to place the first question from the audience. So it's regarding how do you relate the CO2 level with the COVID risk?
Yeah, so basically that's a very good question, of course. So there's a number of data points that you need for a risk assessment. So it's an indirect assessment. So that's, you need to know there's some fixed data. So you need to know the size of the room, so the cubic meters of the room you're in. You need to know how many people there are in the room. You need to know what the people are doing. And you need to know the CO2 levels. And the CO2 level is, of course, it's not about the CO2 level itself, but that's an indication of the amount of ventilation. Yeah. And with these data points and a quite complicated scientific model behind it, which is well described in science, and where our partner DWA is one of the leading specialists in. So they have the knowledge to interpret that. Now with that data, you can calculate what the risk make a risk assessment of if you are in that environment for a number of time. You know, what is the potential risk that if there is a virus, and it could be coronavirus, could be something else, but if there's a virus hanging in the room, you know, what is the risk that you may catch it? Yeah, so that is, let's say, yeah, the science behind it.
Okay, and maybe can you further develop on the topic of your revenue business model?
Yeah, so the way it works in the facility management market is that, let's say, well, the business model is one-off and fees for this application. What is most likely to happen is that, because there is quite a lot of, let's say, applications that are used in office environments, apps to book rooms, apps to book a parking space, etc. And what typically happens is that if you rent a building, is that you then pay a fee for these sort of add-ons, if you want. So you rent a house, it's like the add-ons. And we expect this to be, let's say, an add-on. So you rent a building, and then this comes as an additional feature, right? So let's say the owner of the building, the real estate owner of the building, will have to sort of install the system. And of course, if you have sensors already, it makes it much more easy. But if you do not have sensor, you get some more one-off costs. And then you need to install a small piece of software, etc., etc. So there's one-off costs and there's a recurring fee. So we expect it, because that's the basic business model, that facility manager rents will pay a relatively small fee for such a feature.
Okay, so thank you very much, Jeroen. So in the case of To Be Smart and all remaining 4 startups, we'll share with you their presentation, or also we'll give you the possibility to connect with them, to know more about them. I'd just like to thank Jeroen and pass the mic to Datarella, our next startup. So Datarella will bring track and trust supply chain solution. So first supply chain platform of the afternoon, what a relevant use case.
Yes, thank you very much, Joe. Can you hear me and see my presentation?
Yeah, both.
Perfect. Okay, yeah, welcome to our presentation of our blockchain-based supply chain solution, Track and Trust. We are very happy to present you our results here today. And Track and Trust is actually a project that started way before BlockStart. Actually almost 2 years ago, where we did together with the Department for International Development in the UK, a brainstorming session about how we can make blockchain technology more efficient, especially in terms of humanitarian supply chain. So there are many different challenges there needs to be addressed in the humanitarian supply chain. The first is that there's a total lack of end-to-end overview of supplies. So once an organization initiates a shipment of humanitarian goods into disaster zones, they can track what they send. They can maybe track what their logistics service provider shipped to the next party, but the more distant they get from the origin, they lose track of what happens to their goods. So it could possibly happen that only parts of the goods arrive there. Could happen that no goods at all arrive there. And that's a major pain point, because in the end they want to know, hey, how many goods do we have in the disaster area? Do we need more? And that is not very easily possible with current supply chain solutions. Then we have high logistic costs, just due to the fact that disasters often occur without any indication. So everything needs to go quickly. There's a lot of communication that has to be done. And this just leads to miscommunication, and people forget things and people do something wrong, which results in high logistic costs. There's also a huge amount of paperwork and custom formalities involved. Everything needs to follow basic processes, which also can be kind of confusing and a lot for the short amount of time. And this all results in no access to accurate information. So the humanitarian organization needs to rely on the information that they get from the people in the disaster areas or from their suppliers. And that's just a lack of transparency, which could result in corruption or in fraud, which of course should be avoided. And these challenges are we trying to tackle with our blockchain-based tracking solution, Track and Trust. So here you can see a basic and very simplified supply chain flow of the humanitarian blockchain, of the humanitarian supply chain, I'm sorry. So we have basically 4 actors. We have an organizing entity, the humanitarian organization, in this case, that reaches an agreement with the supplier who produces the goods. And this agreement is locked on the blockchain. I come back to that in a few minutes. Then once the supplier produced the goods, it will hand over the goods to the logistics service provider, who then either ships it to the next logistics service provider or eventually ships it to the implementing partner on site, where the goods are then distributed to the beneficiaries. And these agreements and handovers, and we secure them with cryptographically verifiable transactions that are then stored on a private permissioned Ethereum blockchain. And therefore, we just increase the transparency over the entire system, which is a huge leap forward. So our key features, I basically mentioned the first two already. We have tracking accountability, so we can see where the shipment currently is and who is in charge of it. We have a handover documentation so that we can see when the handovers took place and how far we are going, also how many of the goods were being handovered. And these 2 points are already major pillars in the humanitarian supply chain. Then in the next year, we will provide offline functionality. The problem with disaster zones is often that the infrastructure is broken down there or only minimally available. So we need to have an independent connection to the internet, and we are going to provide that with a 5G mesh network and a satellite uplink. So we are independent of local infrastructure. And also, track and trust is use case agnostic. Also, in the adopters, with the adopters here in BlockStart, we have found out that the supply chain is very similar to any supply chain in the market, where only minimal changes need to be done. So, as a result, we are very agnostic to any use case. Here you can see the different actors that already tested track and trust. So on the left top side, you can see Frontier Technology live streaming, which belongs to the Department for International Development from the UK. And the other three parties are our SME adopters from the pilot stage. a.k.a. on the left bottom part, they have a supply chain for wine dispensers and the wine itself. Then top right, we have Selena Točka, a Slovenian company who focuses on local food production and food selling. And Go Limpets, a Portuguese company that focuses on the supply chain of seafood, and especially limpets. And these different business cases show how versatile track and trust is. So the test was basically a walkthrough from the very beginning of track and trust to the very end. So our testers got the full experience, and their takeaways were that it's a very smooth onboarding process, little to medium, that are only little to medium changes required to support their business cases. For instance, Selena Točka said would be nice if it would be more local, which we could do, but a humanitarian supply chain is usually global, but that's not a problem. They also said that the product would increase their transparency for their supply chains and is an advantage compared to their competitors. And they also gave us potential improvements like an integration to their ERP system or a partial refusal of the shipment. And we from our side, we are very happy that so many companies with different focuses and different use cases successfully tested track and trust and see it as an option to integrate it into their supply chain. Yeah, here you can see some screenshots. The first one here shows the event creation. The event is a term for an actual demand in humanitarian goods. So here, as an example, we can see that we need 2,000 snowshoes that should be delivered until the 21st of January to Munich. Let's see if there is a snowstorm coming or not. But that's how a humanitarian organization would start sending of goods. And then after the supplier has manufactured them and the logistics service provider took it over and eventually sent to the implementing partner, we can see this here in our dashboard. we can see that the first shipment, which was actually a test with Go Limpets, the lobster shipment was successfully delivered to Funchal, whereas another test shipment from Fort Knox is still somewhere in transit in Munich. And here you can see how the handover could look like, or does look like. We have presented a QR code that contains the shipment details, as well as in the format of a raw transaction that then needs to be signed with the public-private key pairs that are registered in our wallet solution. Our product roadmap for the next year looks like this. Right now, we are implementing the feedback from the pilot stage and overall improve the stability of our product. And in the next year, we are starting that offline functionality project, which is very intensive and goes probably far beyond next year. But we're working on that and will continuously improve our system. Business-wise, right now, this year, we focus on optimization of the product. And next year, we want to have a pilot product already in place where we can do test shipments, like real test shipments, and expand this in 2022 to a productive system. Here's our business model that is already based on the mesh networks and trucks. As you can see, it's a very long-term project, and the revenue is mainly driven by the volume and pricing, especially here with the number of mesh networks and the number of trucks. And what we are looking for is, of course, new customers and new businesses who are interested and think that Track and Trust could improve or increase the transparency of their supply chain. And we are also looking for partners with innovative technologies who think that it makes sense to integrate that into Track and Trust. My last slide, I just want to show our team. So we have two offices. We have an office in Munich and an office in Gdansk. Whereas in Munich, we're performing the technical concepts and all the business tasks. Whereas in Gdansk, we have the development of our blockchain solutions. And that's it. Thank you very much for your attention. I hope you liked it, and I'm open now for questions.
Thank you very much, Martin. So I would like to start with some comments from your side on your unique selling point. So how do you differentiate from plenty of supply chain solutions that there are in blockchain, using blockchain?
So right now we have a very secure and very mature system already that could be right away used for any use case. And we also take into account for which business as the supply chain is in use. We are very agnostic to it, which I just said, and will pay respect to the special needs for the special supply chains. And I feel like we just have a very superior product once the offline functionality also comes into place, which of course is mainly beneficial for the humanitarian supply chain, but who knows which business also requires offline functionality.
Okay, and related to this ability of your solution to be applied in other circumstances than not the humanitarian use case?
Yes, definitely. That has also shown the pilot stage with our 3 adopters who really were excited testing this, and yeah, could see it in their supply chain as well.
Okay. And are there any particular profiles of partners, of adopters of your solution that you will be looking into?
I wouldn't say that we are looking for like a specific set of customers or adopters. We are very open for anyone. In the end, it's shipping one good to another place, and I think we are very good in that, and we are open for any business who's interested in adopting this.
Okay, and so regarding the biggest challenges in having these demos, tests, and going on, what were eventually the main difficulties that you felt in this interaction with potential adopters?
So in respect to the adopters, we had it here with BlockStart, and that went very smoothly. We guided them through the process, which was very efficient and very successful. However, in the humanitarian supply chain, our challenge is to make this as simple as possible, because in the end, any truck driver all over the world needs to understand what he has to do, for example, to perform the handover. And I think we are on a very good way. That's also shown in the pilot stage. But yeah, I would say making it instantly understandable for any people in the world is the major challenge for us.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. So thank you very much, and congrats for your project, Martin. And
thank you.
Now I'll present not another pitch, but actually presentation from one of the members of our consortium. So let me share the screen.
I can actually do it myself. Maybe it will be easier to.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Okay. Yes, it will be easier.
Take over.
Hello, once again, my name is Vytautas from Civita, one of the consortium partners. And since we are running late, I will try my best to be as quick as possible and don't take too much of your time. Hope the slides are visible.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Today, I mainly want to talk about two things. One is to present some findings of the main sectors where blockchain has the highest potential, an overview of those sectors, and then talk briefly about a tool that we have also made specifically for SMEs and also all kinds of organizations working with SMEs to identify if they need to use blockchain. Well, the impact of a blockchain is the highest when we have areas or industry sectors where there is a common interest of different players, and where there are many parties that contribute together to creation of flows of information that is used by participants but there's no one central authority, one sole owner of that information, where participants do not trust each other and rely on other third party or intermediary that could be replaced with digital systems, blockchain solutions. Where contractual relationship might be maybe digitally recorded and verified, when there's a clear process that can be automated with using the if this then that logic, where there is a flows of digital assets transactions that can be that needs to be tracked, and where there is a need to store action logs and other similar data in a secure, immutable, trusted, and transparent manner. And so we have done a special research to identify the most promising sectors of blockchain implementation by SMEs. I'm not going to go very deeply into the methodology that we used. Just believe me, it was very rigorous. We have looked into these main sectors that we have selected based on different criteria, based on some of the criteria that I have just discussed that have high potential for blockchain implementation. And then there are 7 criteria that we used that are quantitative and qualitative. What is the share of value added produced by SMEs and total value added of the sector? What is the maturity level of the sector as a whole? What are the barriers, might be legislative or regulatory or others for implementation? How strongly DLT can disrupt the sector and increase its efficiency, how viable the solutions could be, or how many cases could be implemented by SMEs and how diverse they are. And then we used a special ranking system to assess based on a desk research expert interviews and so on to select the 3 top sectors that have the highest potential for blockchain implementation. And as you can see, they are wholesale and retail, fintech, and ICT. And now I will go into each one of them in a little bit more detail, showing and discussing why specifically they have the highest potential of DLT-based solutions. Speaking about wholesale and retail, it is one of the largest sectors overall in itself. There are a lot of SMEs in this industry. There's high maturity of technology, it's relatively independent. There's not that much regulation in comparison to the, let's say, fintech sector that we will come to very soon. So you can see the drivers, main drivers, and the main barriers for blockchain implementation in this sector. So to just highlight a few, there's a high need for increased efficiency in a lot of ways, from logistics point of view and supply point of view to the actual floor space and moving of goods all across, as well as provenance. We have seen a lot of provenance related ideas in the BlockStart program, as well as in other programs, and so on and so forth. One of the main barriers is how to persuade suppliers and other actors within this industry to actually use and onboard themselves to that kind of solution, because we need a lot of players that are involved to convince them of the value that could be created in here. Some solutions that could be done or are being in the development. Well, it can be verifying the origins of goods, as I have already mentioned. It can be some studies to behavior of customers on platforms and to know their preferences. It could be some advertising or automatic settlements with merchandising, and other areas such as simplifying and automating loyalty programs and so on. But overall, experts agree that there are great opportunities for blockchain that ensure transparency in the industry and also enable verification of goods and raw materials. Let's move to the finance and insurance sector. As you will see, one of the barriers, the level of legislative and regulatory independence is low, but it has quite a lot of potential, and probably one of the biggest drivers or biggest trends is that the technology is already very advanced in comparison to other sectors. There have been implemented a lot of solutions already in fintech, and that is partly thanks to the crypto boom that we have observed several years ago. There are more and more solutions that are in development in the fintech sector. And there's European regulation that is coming along, not only GDPR, but there are also CMICA regulation that is in the works that is trying to regulate digital financial instruments and unify the playing field across Europe. There's as for the barriers. Besides their legislation that is still in the works and quite thick, a lot of red tape. There's inertia and conservatism within the traditional players, but still, this sector has a lot of potential, specifically to bring down costs and eliminate a lot of middlemen that are active today. So. Our experts underline such features as transparency, speed of transactions, immutability, cheaper auditing, overall lower cost structure. But this sector, as I said, it's the most mature in terms of blockchain technology adoption, and still has a lot of potential for the future in areas such as customer identification or personal data storage of customers and logging their actions, and also from security point of view, some peer-to-peer networks, eliminating the middleman, and so on. And last but not least, ICT sector. Its main feature, of course, that is very mature from the technology point of view. It's open to innovation, and there are several drivers that promote the use of blockchain technologies in the sector. One of them is the need for securing data and some level of transparency that is needed. There are, of course, barriers in terms of higher need for or maybe higher costs of blockchain solutions when you talk about large amounts of data and so on. Our experts note fast adoption of modern technologies, and well, there are definitely interesting use cases for secure data storage and this in distributed cloud and encrypting documents, new methods of authentication, and also securely sharing vital or very guarded information without having to tear down the silos and expose the data for misuse. And now I want to highlight one tool, which is called Do You Need Blockchain, that we recommend SMEs who haven't done it, and other organizations that work with startups and SMEs, which it's very simple, but at the same time it's a good way to evaluate your innovation level, as well as the need for blockchain and blockchain potential within your organization. So it has several blocks of questions, which identifies the company, its sector affiliation, and the level of innovation, and gives actual recommendations on if you need blockchain or not. So I encourage all of you to try it out, blockstart.eu/DLT, and give it a go if you haven't done so. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Vit. So for this quite quick presentation, but very deep in information, we'll share this presentation with you, and there will be also a report launched in November, which will have further info than this. So I'd like to now present the final 3 pitches of the afternoon. So we will have Infidia invoice verification for invoice financing, Kidian, another supply chain related solution, in this case last mile delivery monitoring solution, and last but not least Rex.io, digital data notarization service. So we'll start with Infidia. Mirko, the stage is yours, so please come along and join us.
Thank you, João, and thank you, BlockStart. I hope that everybody see the presentation, right?
Right, I can see.
Okay. So let's start a timer. Infidia is the seamless invoice verification for invoice financing. For those who don't know, companies can get finance for their invoices, okay, and as the money in advance. So who needs money in advance? I know that those are small manufacturers, logistic companies, distributors, as I spent 8 years in these industries. But the problem is that most of these companies are not getting finance. And the reasons are many. Those are the fraudulent invoices, lack of data, due diligence, and a lack of communication. But a common denominator is that there is a lack of trust between these parties. And for this reason, we built Infidia as the solution based on blockchain, which is perfect for solving the trust issues, of course. With Infidia, we are bringing the value to 3 parties. Those are the SMEs, where we provide them finance and provide the automation of their process, and the banks and lenders, where we provide them scalable loans and onboarding new clients. For Infidia, we have invoice financing fees and a pleasure of working with our clients. Why it's a pleasure? Because we are working with specific type of companies where they use our Infidia order and where we gather their data to send it to financial institutions and lenders. When I say order and I say pleasure, the reason is because our focus is on manufacturing, distribution, and wholesale companies. And this is something that we're really thankful to BlockStart, as they help us identify these ideal customer during the prototype stage. This really helps us differentiate from our competitors as well, because we are the only automated solution that specializes for microtransactions. And it really makes us better because we are adding the value, we are lowering the risk, we are providing the scalability of these loans, and we are giving the great experience of use. And when I say great experience, it comes from the 8 years of sales representatives experience, but also from information of our users that told us that they don't want to disclose their data. And for doing so, we are building on top of R3 Corda, which is a solution that is not disclosing their data. But I will talk about that later on, as I would like to show you the real use of Infidia. You can see
invoice financing requires extensive bureaucratic procedures, and it's rarely accessible to SMEs due to lack of trust. Existing solutions are not tailored for manufacturing and distribution companies, don't substantially reduce the risk of fraud, and require manual labor. Infidia is a blockchain-based platform for verification of account receivables and business transactions, helping small and medium manufacturers and distributors to obtain invoice financing.
One of the major advantages of the BlockStart program is that it gives you that structured approach that could really lead your startup to great results. Why is that? Because I know how the startups can spend a lot of time, and in the past 6 months, we did a ton.
Iconic has never used factoring service before because we knew it's time consuming, and usually the banks and financial services acceptance rate is very low. With the help of NVIDIA platform, they created an opportunity for digital service like us, and now with a couple of clicks, in a simplified manner, we have access to invoice financing.
My name is Srđan Tomašević and I'm founder of company Leste. In the last 2 years, we are using factoring service in Serbian banks. I can find this service very useful for our business, but it is time consuming and we had some errors in the process. NVIDIA application simplifies factoring process. Application is very user friendly and the blockchain technology gives another level of reliability of the application. I can invite all companies that are thinking about the factoring process to contact NVIDIA and try first blockchain factoring application.
So that was a great testimonial from our users, and you could have seen that NVIDIA Order app is used by our clients that send the data to our NVIDIA platform where all the magic happens. And that magic goes to financial institutions, then approve the invoice financing to our clients. So what is the real magic? The magic is in a blockchain platform. It's R3 Corda that is behind. And recently we spoke at the CordaCon conference. They invited us on that, as we have great relationship with them. And R3 Corda enables us that we don't need to disclose the data of our clients as they are giving the permission only to a banks. Some clients that gave us permission to showcase their data are those that were part of the blockchain of the blockchain process and the testing in a pilot phase. Beside them, we have more testers that join our platform, and we have 2 more users. This is really important, that are referrals from our BlockStart testers. And we just can't say how grateful we are to BlockStart and to them, because with mBrain Train, they gave us a specific KPIs to follow, specific questionnaire of theirs. So it was really intense having those meetings, but it gives us a great value. For Bees and Toys, we had a real example of the use of the NVIDIA Order, as you can see in a video that was created by Marsben, that we are so grateful to, and that unlocked us the situation where we can onboard more freelancing companies. Moreover, Mlekara Petrov really provided us credentials to their software, to existing software, and we're working on connecting and extracting the data from that software to NVIDIA. And with Leste, we had a great game-changing experience, as their notification system that we are creating by the talks that we had could really change the factoring market. And that is something that we're really grateful to BlockStart as well. And because following these KPIs, we thought that we know a lot about this process, but only when we had such number of meetings, we concluded how much we don't know. And that is really important, as it led us to that situation where we're developing that system of notification, because Leste pointed us to some mistakes. And these mistakes can be really prove viable, as this could help us unlock the niche of the invoice financing market, which is factoring market, with 8 trillion euros untapped, and 2.8 are in current factoring use cases. And Europe leads here, of course. It's the main part of the factoring market is in Europe, and our targeted EU countries are really doing a lot of invoice factoring. But in beachhead market, that is Serbia, there is also 800 million euros in factoring services. So our business model for our client is goes through 5 stages. There's a freemium where they pay for customized solutions, subscription for the customer support, of course. But the main source of income is transaction fee, because in a transaction fee, we are seeing our future, as well as in the invoice marketplace model. In invoice marketplace model, of course, we will have the situation where we will lower the fees, but we really think that we'll get the more value with it. Of course, there's a data model, and our pricing is quite simple. And since all our users are in a basic mode, I will give that information, we really treat them as premium. In our development, we are really happy to be one of the top 5 startups of BlockStart, and we are happy that we have a chance to test NVIDIA with our pilot users. In the future, we have bank that we are targeted and hoping for that pitching session with their board of directors, and onboarding one more lender, more users, and integrating first ERP. This would lead us to contracts of 200,000 euros and developing invoice marketplace in February 21. And this team is really able to tackle this and give this to fruition, because in the top tier, there's the people that are really fully committed to NVIDIA, and we have great consultants that really supported us really I would say in a previous months, and some freelancers that we reserved to help us as we expand and we grow our business. Our ask for the future is that we have some partnership and collaboration with the banks, so we'll cherish that contacts. If you have them, send them, as well as some company needs factoring. Point it out to NVIDIA. We will looking forward to make some traction. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Mirko. And
it's 10 minutes.
Yeah, sure. I was noticing that, so I was tracking, like, and it's
okay.
Mathematical. Great. Yeah. So great presentation. So now up to the Q&A. So the first question is related to either if you are considering switching over to R3 Corda, from R3 Corda to a public blockchain using baseline protocol to increase transparency and decentralization, or not?
I must admit that R3 Corda helped us a lot, and I have to say, as well as to you, João, for all your communication and help. I'm thankful to Nadine, who pointed us to the webinar of Corda, where we connected with them. It was a recommendation of BlockStart. We connected with them and get into really close ties with them. So they introduced us to the 3 banking executives that are on the highest level of ING Bank, Alpha Bank, working previously for Bank of China. So like the big and great contacts they provided us, which really lead us to believe that we are feeling like we're part of their community. And for that reason, because R3 Corda is used by 300 banks and financial institutions, we feel that this is the good solution for us. Of course, yeah, it all comes to the loyalty and thankfulness. And thank you, João, and thank you, BlockStart, as well.
You're welcome. A pleasure to try to help such great projects as yours. And so maybe could you further develop on your future plans? How do you see your project evolving in the coming months?
In the coming months, our major I would say challenge is to get into that finalizing the sales cycle with the banks. So we already contacted some alternative lenders, and we were already having interest for one of the invoices of our clients by the factoring companies. Factoring companies are 15% of the market. Most of the factoring is done by the banks, but there are also factoring companies that can do that. And 5 that we contacted showed interest for financing that invoice. And these are our plans. Our plans are also to contact a company in Macedonia that provides credits as well. But we are hopefully getting to the pitch session to the Raiffeisen Bank board of directors, which is a competition that we applied to, and we already exchanged some data. So our plans are in landing the lender. I would say that, because that is something that we actually need to finalize the whole process, make that traction, and like kickstart to the universe, as well as the users. As I said, we have a model for attracting the users. It's a game of huge numbers, and our acquisition channel strategy works. And we are actually getting in a conversation with a large number of users right now. Some that couldn't be our clients, we pointed out to BlockStart as a thankfulness. And in those terms, those are our main objectives. Just to follow with new users, because with that we have more value to give to the banks, giving them new users, and getting the partnership and collaboration with banks and lenders. Those are main targets that we have, beside, of course, fine-tuning the solution and picking everything up to be just as perfect as possible.
Great. Thank you, Mirko. So, of course, we'll share Infidia presentation video. Make sure to take a look at their profile in the follow-up email that we'll share with you all. So thank you very much, Mirko. And now we go to Kivian and to our two more startups presenting. So Rainis, you may.
Yeah, thank you so much, and chat to all of you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Mirko. Great energy, great energy there. I hope I can pick up some energy for my presentation as well.
Yeah.
So my name is Rainis. I'm the co-founder of Kedian, and I will introduce you to what we have been building over the past months. And to keep it interesting, I will start out with just a brief explanation of the problem and our solution, but stay with me because I will very shortly jump right into the demo to show you something more exciting and then explain the rest of our business, and then waiting for the questions after the presentation. So I hope you see the screen. If not, just let me know.
Not right now.
Not right now. Okay, just let's double check.
Okay.
No, you should see it, right?
Yeah, right.
Perfect. Kedian is last mile delivery monitoring solution. We provide transparent quality monitoring to companies of any size, small, medium enterprises, just as part of BlockStart as the first market, but also larger companies that are able to utilize the product that we provide. And we utilize easy to implement hardware IoT modules that require little to no changes in the existing operations of companies and minimal training. This way protecting the company and reassuring end customers. Don't worry, I'll explain in more detail. So basically, when we joined BlockStart multiple months ago, we were still at kind of an idea and prototype stage. We had backgrounds both in blockchain development and also supply chain. And we recognize there's a lot of problems in the supply chain. There's a lot of losses happening, and there's multiple parties involved. But exactly as BlockStart started, there was a COVID-19 situation all over the world and also here in Latvia. So kind of existing pilot projects with supply chain companies in multiple countries, they kind of slowed down. So we were kind of looking what problems can we solve at the right moment. So BlockStart was right for us to recognize the biggest issue at this moment was last mile delivery. While the whole supply chain is very strictly monitored with HACCP and other standards, last mile delivery has sprung up very rapidly over the past months, such as grocery delivery of pharmaceuticals, and a lot of different products. However, here the oversight is much less regulated, depends on country to country, and there's a lot of people that are unhappy. There's a huge risk involved. And if you talk about groceries and food specifically, which was one of our first use cases, if the right temperature or other factors are not monitored correctly, this is not just bad for the business itself. It can actually lead to more serious consequences. Just in 1 year, there's over 250,000 people just in the United States getting sick from food, and there's actually also deaths happening in this regard. And last mile delivery is no different. There's deliveries in different durations, and there's a huge risk. And we believe that there's too little happening at this moment. So how can we help, and what is our solution? Is we built, and that's just to jump back to last mile delivery. One of the key issues in last mile delivery, why it's kind of less monitored than other parts of the supply chain, is that there's a lot of different methods of last mile delivery. There's in-house employees or independent contractors. There's delivery by bicycles, private cars, regular refrigerated or regular vehicles. And our question was, how can we ensure safety and enable customers to feel reassured about the quality itself? So during BlockStart, we built a solution that consists not only of the hardware component, but as well as a dashboard for the company and a tool for the end consumer or the recipient of a shipment to actually protect themselves and control the conditions that the delivery has been happening in. So I will jump right into the demo for you to better understand before I explain the other parts of our solution. So for this, I will stop the share for a moment. And first, I would love to present our hardware device. This is a purpose-built device that we built over the past months with multiple sensors inside, which allows you to only monitor temperature, humidity, light, movement, and a lot of different sensors that we can enable in going forward. And what's interesting about this device is that, first of all, it's one of the first devices of its kind in the world that utilizes the LTE-M IoT network. This network allows our devices to have a battery life of multiple weeks and work also in conditions where traditionally devices are not able to, which is important for delivery, goes better through concrete walls, metal walls, and other kind of situations or environments where I
can't see your screen.
Yeah, this is, I will jump into the screen in a moment. This is kind of demonstration of the hardware device itself. So as you see, on the back side, we have a QR code, and this QR code actually consists of a public key of the device. So each device actually have a secure element on the device, which consists of the public key and a private key, which digitally signs each message individually. And for this, inside this device, we included a crypto cell chip, which supports elliptic curve cryptography, which is the same as what is used for the Ethereum chain, which allows us to have fully immutable and verifiable measurements on the device itself. These devices are easy to use by people doing the deliveries themselves. If you pick it up and remove it from the electricity, the device automatically turns on and measures every second along the way. Once the device has been enabled, it's possible to use applications that we have developed for both iOS and Android phones. The Android applications available in the Google Play Store. Apple right now is still on test flight, but will be released very shortly. And each person doing deliveries is able to see sensors that have been connected. So I recently connected this device. This device, as you can see on the QR code, has an ID, which is one of our clients' devices that I will explain later, 001. And by scanning this device with the mobile app, I can add the sensor to my device. So everything that happens here is that only if you actually have access to the device, you're able to add it to your application. As the next step, you can switch to, and I specifically want to have a live demo, so I hope you will be able to see it, is you have a screen for the deliveries. If you want to make a delivery, each delivery is supposed to have either an ID or also a key. This is also a public key of a delivery. So we gave all our clients stickers that they can attach to deliveries, but it's possible also to add this to an existing invoice or paper. As soon as I scan with the application, as soon as I scan this QR code, it will allow us to start or stop a delivery. And if I click to start this delivery, and I will share my screen again, you will be able to log into the dashboard and see this delivery that has started. You will be able to see the start date and the temperature of this moment. So right now, this device that I'm having right here, this is the device 001. It has a temperature in this room of 24 degrees Celsius. It's quite warm in here. And we are able to view this delivery, and we can see measurements. So this shows the last 10 measurements. We can also switch to see more deliveries over a longer time. I have been sitting in this phone booth for a while, so the temperature is quite constant and quite high. But here you can see also different ranges. So we have a red zone, which is too much, and these ranges can be adjusted for perishable products such as food, pharmaceuticals, and others. The platform also allows you to receive real-time alerts of the measurements and also to add comments to the delivery. All of what you can see on the screen, it can either come from our database with a digital signature, or you can actually utilize Web3 on the browser to synchronize and check if it's the same measurements that have been stored on a blockchain. We use a custom Ethereum sidechain that we have implemented with nodes with our clients, where all measurements are stored, but to have the scalability and quick measurements to show in real time, the default is that the measurements come from the database. And now the last piece of our solution is when the client receives this delivery, they can, and it says here in Latvian, which is our customer, if you scan this code as an end consumer, it actually also a link with the public key included. So if you scan this with any phone, so you can use the application, you can use the QR code application of the iPhone or the Android, it will actually open up, it's actually loading right now, a screen where it will show the same order information that you can see in the dashboard, but also visible for the end consumer. So you're able not only to see the measurements over the past minutes, you can see if the allowed temperature range has been breached, and you can also see the transaction hash where you can actually go into and see the information about this specific delivery as an end consumer to make sure that the delivery has been delivered correctly. So now switching back to my presentation. The end result of our solution and what we have envisioned and what we have learned during the pilot projects is that, first of all, this is a solution that is able to protect companies from liability. Just as I said earlier, there's a huge risk involved from having the allowed temperature ranges or other ranges being breached. This way you can actually protect from liability against customers, this way protecting your brand image and reputation, but also protect from liability against regulatory bodies in different countries, which are increasingly looking at ways how to better oversee the last mile delivery process. This is also a solution to stand out from competition in a highly competitive market and also increase the efficiency of your delivery mechanism with the tools that we provide. And the end result with your customers is that you can increase customer trust, confidence, and satisfaction with the delivery. And this, we have learned, results in loyalty. Loyalty, why certain people would choose your service over a different service which doesn't do it. As I mentioned earlier, we selected quite different target markets, but food delivery has been growing rapidly, especially during COVID-19, but also previously, and it's is seen that this industry is growing more rapidly every single month over month. And what's interesting in this graph is also that we can see here is that the highest growth is not for the large players in the space, it's the small, medium businesses. People are increasingly looking for kind of more boutique, niche, or more premium deliveries for food products such as meat, fish, and other products. And this is the industry that we're targeting at this moment. And we're providing our services as a subscription base for hardware as a service and software as a service with a monthly fee for the sensors and the software itself. There is some competitors on the market, of course, but most of these solutions, they're not really usable, first of all, for small, medium businesses, because it requires a dedicated IT team. Our customers, they care about delivering food, creating food, growing meat, growing fish. It's not about creating an IT department. Our solution comes ready out of the box, easily usable without dedicated training and people in the team. And it's the only solution which provides not only fully verifiable measurements, but also real-time alerts over multiple weeks. And now about kind of our experience at BlockStart. When we started out, we were still in the idea stage with a rough prototype built on a Raspberry Pi. During BlockStart, we were able to fully build our first hardware MVP version and dashboard mobile application for fully ready to be used MVP solution. We interviewed over 46 customers so far, and we have 18 companies committed of using our solution. We onboarded 5 pilot companies that I will explain in the next slide, and all 5 have signed agreements with us, with 3 more in process currently. We have identified over 200 leads in Latvia and other countries that we want to expand to next, and also recently hired top engineering prospects to continue building out the vision that we have. And the best part was the last stage of BlockStart. So we're very happy to have been selected as one of the 5 companies. Our favorite part about BlockStart was that BlockStart has this focus on partnership with end user SMEs. And this is has been quite important because we were always kind of developing. We never felt that our solution is ready to go, because especially if you have hardware and software, you always feel that you have something more that you need to implement. But with BlockStart, we pushed forward and started relations with 5 companies to start pilot projects with. The start was, of course, a little rough with bugs and problems encountering. I will share, and this is the second last slide, so some interesting things that I want to share. For example, one of our customers, Blue Circle, they're growing fish. They're a fish wholesaler, and they needed to disinfect the devices after each use. So we had to make them waterproof and disinfectant proof. So that's something that we didn't previously encounter. We have companies like that are doing B2C grocery delivery. This includes Deliv and artedzīve.lv. Those companies, they like having blockchain as an added value, but not as a barrier to use. So something where blockchain can be utilized as an additional value to the end consumer, not something that needs a lot of thought to kind of find a real value. And then we also have a pilot with meat production and sales, Jānis Sauka, and also B2B food product delivery, Birojas LV. We also have last mile delivery operator for other companies, piegāde69.lv. And here's some pictures when we started these relationships. If you're interested in having video case studies, we will prepare them soon. Please send me a message and I will be able to send you video case studies that will be even more interesting to see. But some testimonials that we have received is that this is something that end consumers are excited about. They want to verify. It's something fun for end consumers. If you talk about B2C, if you talk about B2B, this is a way to react to temperature breaches to prevent spoiled deliveries, and this actually saves money for a company.
Reinis, just to finalize, like 30 seconds, please.
Yes, actually 15 seconds, so 2 more slides. So we as a team, we started out as 3 people. We have grown to 8 people right now. We'll hire and onboard 3 more people next week, so we have the right team to continue executing with more companies very soon. As next stage, we want to execute our roadmap of things that we have learned and perfect and fine-tune our solution, onboard next companies from the waitlist here, and expand outside of Latvia. So we are looking if somebody can help us with introductions to new markets or specific companies that might be interested in testing our solution, please reach out to me. So summarizing, we provide a platform for the transparent monitoring of last mile deliveries, such as perishable food products or pharmaceuticals. We utilize easy to implement hardware IoT modules that require little to no changes in the existing operation and minimal training. This way, protecting the company and reassuring end consumers. Thank you very much. My name is Reinis Skorovs. I'm the co-founder of Kedian, and happy to answer any questions you might have about our solution.
Okay, so thank you, Reinis. So you used a bit more time, so I'll have only one quick question from the audience. So is your solution tamper-proof?
Yes, so we have designed our casing. First of all, it's tamper-proof. You can see if it has been tampered with, but it's also important to know that the private key is protected by a secured element, similar how it's done on hardware wallets for cryptocurrencies such as Trezor. This way, we also provide the tamper-proofing that we are able to fully prove that a measurement has happened on this device at this time point during this delivery. So our goal is to have legally binding power of our measurements in the future, and this can actually enable things like Ricardian contracts if there's dispute between multiple parties.
Okay, okay. Thank you, Rinus. So then you may answer to the questions through the chat that you have there.
Perfect.
A couple more questions, but thank you for your presentation. Now going to the final one. So now it's time for Christoph to present.
Indeed.
And we'll make the final presentation, the takeaways, really short. So now the stage is yours for this last but not least presentation.
So the typical conference call question, can you see my screen?
Yeah, we can.
Excellent. So guys, thanks. Great presentations thus far. So I can only hope to have achieved the same level of professionalism as you guys did. Kudos for that. My name is Chris. I am a CEO and co-founder of Rexio, and I'm here to talk to you about a data problem. Across a number of industries, we can see that evidencing is an important process that requires need to evidence certain behaviors. And today, this has become a broken process. Imagine what has happened in the past months, how social fabric has changed, how our interactions have changed. And in this context, we have developed our product that is going to mend that situation. Our technology simplifies radically trust. It helps reduce the cost of attestation that is part of a number of businesses and their interactions, particularly insurance, for example, or banking. And we do all that without changing your entire IT infrastructure. I've been working for a number of years for banks and insurance companies, and I know that they are very hesitant to change their existing IT landscape. To give you an overview of how simple and how easy our solution is to implement, this is a quick demonstration, quick picture of how it fits into existing data narrative. We built a data trust platform that is pluggable. It's designed to fit into existing pipelines, and it's GDPR compliant, and it's basically a privacy first solution. Unlike in the case of competitors existing on the market, clients have the choice to deploy this entire data notarization platform on their IT premises, on their IT infrastructure, and they can seamlessly integrate it with their existing IT landscape. This entire process is user-friendly and very efficient. It guarantees end-to-end out-of-the-box chain of trust and can be deployed within just a few minutes on your premises. I'd like to walk you through an example how we implemented this with one of our early adopters. So Eldro Technology is using blockchain, our platform, to create an incontestable evidence chain. It was plugged into their existing data processing pipeline. And now maintenance crews working on traffic infrastructure maintenance work have the ability to document maintenance work that they've done in order to mitigate exposure associated with missing the SLAs as contractually agreed upon. When they send a picture, it is proxied through Rexio that is deployed again on Eldro's premises, and a fingerprint of that image that is done by the crew is sent and stored on a ledger for all parties involved in the contract, be that the government or Eldro or any other interested party like a city, to validate that information. At the same time, we've been working on our application that is facing insurance and banking industry. It's an application that facilitates remote interactions for new car insurance policies, for motor vehicle own damage policies, that enables the clients to be engaged by the insurance company in the documentation process. In our part of Europe, some companies are facing frauds from insurance perspective because they are not able to prove that a car insured or an object insured by a client indeed is in a condition as described during the signing of the policy. Now, if you plug Rexio's backend that is again seamlessly positioned on insurance companies' premises, if you plug that into an application that engages the customer to send pictures of a vehicle or a house, you have a time-stamped and geotagged location of that image taken. So you have a provenance record of the entire context that is associated with the object being insured. I think it's also fair to really give you a perspective of where we are coming from and where we are going to. This entire project started way back in March 2019, when when a company that we spun out from, DAC, described our vision of trust baked into logistics sector. Mateusz, back then in Budapest, showcased how we see logistics and trust being baked into a TLS sector. And we took that idea and built out of it a prototype that actually won a number of awards during a hackathon in Berlin organized by Altai Ventures. And back then, me and my co-founder Przemek, we decided to really elevate it further and set up a company that has been accelerated in the US, in Reno, through an accelerated program called Innovator. We've been also part of an accelerator in Europe to really understand how this fits in the European context as well. And last but not least, we're also looking into major programs that are addressing post-pandemic situation. If you think about the early phases of BlockStart, when we talked to Joao and the rest of BlockStart and F6S, we have dismissed back then the idea to put that product in the healthcare context. But it turns out that there is use case for Rexio in healthcare, and the Polish government that is trying to mitigate consequences of changed social fabric in the post-pandemic world. They actually accepted us as one of 4 companies that have the best value proposition for healthcare in the new normal, as we call that. And I'm also proud to say that, like our predecessors, we are also closely associated with Corda. Our product is designed to be blockchain agnostic. Right now, we are utilizing Ethereum because it's very simple to port into public and private networks. But we have pitched the idea of Rexio being utilized for insurance sector, and Corda took us into their InsurTech challenge where we are building a prototype that is utilizing Corda network as well. So our business. If you think about the numbers, if you are trying to understand the beachhead market we are addressing, 10% of all claims in Europe, insurance claims, can be designed as fraudulent, can be described as fraudulent. Moreover, 12% of policies face value for motor insurance is paid as insurance broker's fee. If we can address fraud reduction with our solution, if we can shorten the distance between the customer and the insurance company by mitigating a middleman in the form of a broker, we can save as much as 9 billion euros annually for the insurance sector. But our applications are not just insurance. We are broadly talking about InsurTech, FinTech, and RegTech. Right now, we are in the late stage of finalizing project with a company from Switzerland called Delega. They are doing a multi-signatory component for banks and companies to onboard new financial officers in a global context where companies have multiple branches and are interacting with multiple bank branches across the world. And we are also talking to a yet undisclosed company in the RegTech industry from the UK that has over 15,000 employees globally and are looking to using our product once we really are validated in their value proposition to their clients. If you're talking about a great company, it deserves also to mention a great team. I am also supported by Przemek, my co-founder, and I would say a really good friend as well. My long-lasting friend Stanisław is also on board of the company. But I'm proud to say that throughout the entire acceleration program with BlockStart, our team grew apart to key people that I'm going to introduce in a second. We have gotten one sales executive and one additional developer who has joined our team. So right now we have a great architect, we have fantastic developers, both full stack and software developers and backend. Radek and Agata joining us and supporting us on communication and new business development are really just sweetening the deal that we have with our fantastic team. Let's talk about pilots now. We have already 3 amazing success stories with BlockStart, but we're also looking beyond BlockStart. We have Rolik Sus, a large transportation company from Poland that is in the final stages of contract signing with us. We are talking to RS Components. We are talking to Solars, which is a large enterprise focusing on providing services to insurance companies. Pearson and a building block from the US to really close the current setup. Now, talking about our BlockStart success stories, I've already told you about Eldro and how we are changing the game for them. Latitude 40, an Italian fantastic startup that is focused on analyzing the satellite images, is using Rexio in their POC and products to create evidence that the images used by them to create insights for their clients were indeed untampered with when they were purchased from providers like Galileo or Airbus. Volt, another fantastic company, is building an S3 compliant storage, and we have partnered with them to create a proposition where we can give them an interface to guarantee that any data sent to their storage by their clients can be automatically signed and notarized to create a evidence and data lineage chain that puts that in a perspective. The outcome from Eldro is, I would say, financially very convincing. Only with our solution, they are able to limit their losses annually by $50,000 that they were paying in contractual fines. It is a 2% revenue that is actually saved when they are using Rexio. In terms of challenges, we want to grow. We want to grow globally, not just Europe-wide. So after market validation phase right now that we've been bootstrapping and using BlockStart, thank you very much for that to keep us going. We're looking for investment to move beyond the current stage to really grow exponentially with the team and the client base. Our sales director is already looking into support with people from Switzerland and the US and Canada. We want to attack and conquer those markets with our solution, but that requires obviously fuel that we are looking for. So that is about us. If you have any questions and have enough willpower to remember my name, lots of consonants there, don't hesitate to get in touch with us, and we'll be happy to answer any of your questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Christoph. Great presentation, great use cases. So I'd like maybe to ask you about potential use cases that you see that your solution may be relevant, if you can further develop on that.
Well, basically, if you're talking about data trust, we are your go-to solution. If you need to extend the trust far beyond your infrastructure, we are the ones you would typically go to. Because as a company, as a large organization, insurance company or a bank, you can probably, to a certain degree, guarantee that the data that you have on your premises is untampered with, is properly stored and maintained, and that there's a lineage chain. But what if you engage someone who is beyond your infrastructure? What if that person has conflicting interests with you? Think about the customer and the insurance company example. The one party wants to have your insurance claim paid. The other is looking to make sure that this claim is not fraudulent. These can be conflicting interests. So any interaction that requires existing infrastructure, existing business process, but this trust needs to be elevated to a detached, unphysical, digital level, we can provide a solution for that, because just like this quick slide shows you, we are designed to fit into any data and blockchain narrative. This is a decoupled architecture, so depending on your target or source context or the chain of your choice, we have the right tool sets to make that happen without any expensive implementation process. In terms of time, it took our clients, our POC partners from Portugal and Italy, less than 15 minutes to go from I don't have any trust layer to I can trust the data that is being proxied through my component.
Yeah, great. So pretty versatile solution indeed. And so would you like to leave any message, any challenge to potential adopters that you
we're looking for partners and clients that have a problem we can address with our solution. If you need trust, if you need to validate the data coming externally, if you need to create a tamper-proof evidence chain for your IoT data stream, for your video stream, for the images or documents that are being processed on your premises, get in touch with us. We can help you with that solution. We can help you with our product that can be deployed on your premises. You don't need to worry about any GDPR compliance. The data will never leave your premises. It's by design GDPR DNA. It's by design CCPA compliant. We are even compliant with the Brazilian LGBT regulation. So full end-to-end trust coverage in the existing data context.
Okay. So one last question. Can you secure banking data from suppliers?
Can you elaborate on that question? Because what kind of banking data are we talking about?
What I see is that this question is from Sebastian Holler.
Mm-hmm.
So the risk identified is that the salesman is inputting his own bank information instead of supplying the company's bank information, so the IBAN, for instance.
We are designed to extend that trust as close to the data source as possible. So if you're talking about making sure that nobody changes the IBAN number in between someone committing that information and someone using that to make a wire transfer, then yes, we are designed to exactly do that. The case I've told you about from Switzerland is basically addressing those kinds of issues. How do you make sure that a new financial officer is not going to make wire transfers that go beyond what they are allowed to do? Hence, our client is going to notarize documents stating certain regulations and rights a person has to create a proof that further down the road, anyone can always say, I called on your bluff. I want to see if this information is indeed untampered with, and they can do that. They can calculate the fingerprint of the data again and see if it's untampered with, if it can be found on the ledger.
Okay, clear to me. So maybe to finalize the event, I'd like to thank you, Christoph, and I'll take the floor.
Thank you very much. And
okay, thank you.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for having us, and thank you for a great program, Joao and team. Thanks so much.
Deeply appreciate it. So I'll share my screens for some 5 minutes. I'm willing not to spend more. So this is indeed, I would say, the least interesting part of today's event, for sure. Not only because it's presented by me, but because the core value was behind us in the pitch presentations, in the keynote speaker, and also Vitauta's presentation. So I won't spend too much time wrapping up. The best wrap up that you may have will be shared with you by next week. So next week we'll share the video of the event, the recording that you may share with anyone that you feel could be interested to watch this event. also a blog post with main takeaways from this session, the profiles of the startups, so profiles very comprehensive, profiles describing the company, the solution, and the pilot implementations done by all startups, all 5 finalist startups. Also video of each startup pilot implementation, a great summary of 3-4 minutes about their implementations. And of course, what I would say, it will be the core aim of our follow-up email. If you are willing to connect with these great startups, if you know someone that would be interested to partner, to be client or even investor in one of these 5 projects, please let us know. Just reply to this email, and a short feedback survey so that we can get some insights on how to improve this program and very much this event also. So just a quick overview of what's next in the program. So right now we just told you the story of the first acceleration program of BlockStart. So this rather intense 7-month right during the COVID outbreak. So it was great. I wouldn't say great in a positive way, but it is what it is. So we managed to run a great acceleration program from March until now, and ahead of us there is another acceleration program, the second of 3 acceleration programs, with ideation kickoff, the first event, matchmaking event, happening on 26th of November, then prototype stage, 10 startups developing their MVPs from December until March next year, and pilot stage from April, June. So right now I would like to right away invite you to attend the demo day of next year, June 2021. It will be a pleasure to have you on board again. And just quick mention to third acceleration program, the open call will be live from May next year. So if you are a DLT startup, or if you know some blockchain startup that would be interested in participating in such a program, please let them know that around March to May next year, they'll have a final opportunity to benefit from BlockStart help. And so really last words of appreciation and gratitude to Max Lautenschläger from Iconic Holding, our keynote speaker, also Vytautas Seniauskas from Civita, 2 great presentations that I think left some great tips, insights, and questions for us to reflect on. And sure, and I'll say even above all, to the 20 SME adopters that gave the opportunity to our startups to test their assumptions, test their solutions, validate the market potential of their solution, learn with the exposure to the market, which is the best cotton test that could be for a startup or any company, I would say. And sure, for the DLT developers, the solution providers, not only these 5 startups that presented today, of course, with a greater emphasis on these, but to all 20 DLT developers that participated in the program right from March this year. So it was a pleasure to get to know such interesting projects. The future of blockchain, we believe, is pretty much based on these startups and other that are boosting some great technological paradigm as blockchain is. And lastly, just a few words to the BlockStart Consortium, to the team behind this program, Bright Pixel, the company I represent, Civita, F6S, but particularly the people behind this program. So Nadine, Antonio from F6S, Jurga, Vytautas, Ugnius, and many more from Civita, Brightpeak. So myself, Frederico, Benjamin, David. So many thanks to all these people that managed to give our contribution to the ecosystem. And so I hope that you've enjoyed our event. I hope that you come back and participate in our second demo day in June. And most of all, that you keep engaged with us. Feel free to reach out to us, and we'll be happy to help in whatever way we can. So we are 15 minutes late. Sorry for this, but I hope that you found it fruitful and an interesting session to keep up to.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Okay. Thank you, Erlen. Pleasure to work with you all. And so we.
Thank you, Joel. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks,
Bye-bye. Bye all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Goodbye.